today's practice, we're going to be focusing on the element metal, the yin and yang organs being the lungs and large intestines. A lot of times in our yin practice, we focus primarily on the lower half of the body and the lower meridian lines. So today's practice, the lung meridian line, just useful to know, starts from the lateral edge of the collarbone, runs down the inside of the arm, all the way to the tip of the thumb. The large intestine line then runs on the outside of the arm from the tip of the index finger, coming along the crease of the elbow, up along the collarbone. It then crosses over the mouth and ends at the opposite nostril. So keep that in mind. You'll notice the movements, the arm positions in particular, will stimulate both the inside and the outside of the arms. Come to find a familiar, comfortable seated position, drawing a little bit of extra length into the spine, tucking the chin back to the throat. Remember, we want the crown of the head drawing up to the ceiling, giving us length, helping us to relax, to drop in the shoulders. Softening the gaze, even better, close the eyes. Begin to become aware of your Ujjayi breath. Drawing the breath both in and out through the nostrils, creating that sound as you draw the breath into the back of the throat and then release again from the back of the throat. Taking a few moments to scan through your body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Working with your awareness to identify patterns of holding tension. And as you work through that body scan, make any adjustments that feel good, relaxing into the shoulders, releasing the hands, the neck, even the jaw. And also taking a moment to remember the intention of a yin practice is working to your edge, not beyond that. So any sharp sensations, any burning discomfort, you need to slowly come out of the posture. Keeping the eyes closed, come to rub the palms together, creating that heat in the hands. Cupping the palms over the eyelids. Softly blink the eyes open, lowering the palms down the front side of the body, interlacing the fingers, reaching up to the ceiling. Exhale, stretching over to your right hand side for a moment. Inhale, come up to neutral. Exhale over to your left hand side. Inhale, gently coming up, releasing those fingertips, placing the hands onto the knees, just taking a few gentle cat stretch variations, rounding into the upper back, sliding the hands to the inside of the thighs. And again, one more time. Taking your bottom foot, placing it on top, hands still resting onto the knees, and just gently start to circle, loosen into the lower back. Okay, just gently bringing some small mobilizing movements to the body before we come into those longer held postures. Changing direction. One more. Good, well done. We're going to begin with your child's pose as we did in the first sequence. Remember your options of working with the props. You can take that block supporting the sit bones, especially if you're tight in the hamstrings or in the groin area, definitely work with that. Alternatively, you can take the knees as wide as feels comfortable, a little blanket underneath or even underneath the fold. Block is always there as an option to support the forehead. And depending on your leg position, hands tucked to your side, or for today's practice, I'm going to work with my arms extended. Walking the palms to the edge of the mat if they are extended, and softening the forehead to the floor. Still being aware of the shape changes in the abdominal cavity with each inhalation and exhalation. Noticing the calming effects of your child's pose. Feel the stretch in the lower back, into the groin area, even the hamstrings. Remember to be softer in this pose. Taking 5 more deep breaths. Inhale, slowly walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Gently press yourself up into your tabletop position, aligning the knees underneath the hips, palms underneath the shoulders. Just giving a gentle stretch, letting knees release. A little bit of pressure down the back of the leg. Changing sides, same thing on the right leg. And gently release. We're going to move into your tadpole posture. Same base as your child's pose, except we're going to walk both hands over to the left side initially. We're holding there, and then we'll transition both arms over to the right hand side. So clearing anything that might be in your way. Softening down to the heels. Remember, you have the option of using the block as support. Taking both hands over to the left hand side. Try and still have just a little bit of weight into that right hip, still softening, still about 60 to 70% of your maximum range. And then gently allowing the forehead to soften to the mat. Feeling more of a release along the outside of the right arm, maybe even a little bit in and around the shoulder blade. Taking 5 more breaths in this position. Inhale, lifting the head. Very slowly start to walk both hands over to the right hand side. Remember, this time still a little bit of pressure into that back left heel, so keeping the sit bones down. And try and check in that the fingers are both at the same distance, so don't be too far over. You can see already that pushes my left hip out, so keeping the fingertips relatively in the same movement plane. When you're ready, softening the forehead down to the mat. Beginning to relax the nervous system, releasing down the length of the arms, feeling also a slight release possibly into the lower back and groin area, improving hip flexibility. Giving yourself 5 more breaths in your tadpole posture. And then on your next inhalation, begin to bring the palms back to neutral. Inhale from here, coming back into your tabletop position. I always really like to release into the legs, just to counter that quite strong compression in the knees. You're also welcome to bring any movements, any counter poses into the full length of the spine. Two more rounds. Our next posture is bow tie. I would suggest having a block close to the top of your mat to support the forehead. With control, come to lie onto your stomach. So bow tie is a really good posture for opening into the chest area. It can be quite strong, especially if you're naturally rounded into the upper body, and that's where the block can be really useful. We're going to slide that left arm underneath the front of the body, right arm in line with the shoulder, and then just adjusting, finding the support of the block for the forehead. Remember to make any adjustments at the beginning of your yin posture. Almost immediately feeling that release along the outside of the shoulders, running down the outside of the arms. So if you think of that large intestine meridian line, how we're opening and stimulating that yang channel. remembering to slow down and lengthen your exhalations as much as possible. We'll take 5 more breaths here. So as you inhale, lifting the head away from the mat or the block, releasing the arms to your side for a moment. Come to turn onto the left cheek, left temple. If you'd like to interlace the fingers, just giving the chest a counter position by opening, drawing the fingers down the back of the body, and then gently release. Good. Lifting up, coming to the opposite side, so this time threading that right arm through first, left arm coming second. Okay. And quite common to feel very different on one side, on one shoulder joint than the other. So rather have the block as an option. You can always remove it out at a later stage. Adjusting, be as comfortable as you can. And then finding the support of that block for the forehead. Allowing the whole body to soften with each exhalation. Encourage the eyes to naturally close. Taking 5 more deep breaths in your bow tie posture. As you inhale, if you use the block, lifting your head away from the block, slowly moving the arms out from behind you, giving yourself enough room so we can make that a cactus arm variation. And this time you'll turn to look to the left, resting on the right temple and right cheekbone. If you'd like to interlace the fingers again, drawing them down the small of the back. And then gently release. From here, we're coming straight into your Sphinx pose. I like to work with 2 blocks here. If for any reason this is uncomfortable in your hips, you can always tuck a blanket underneath. Very important in Sphinx is to find the natural alignment of the elbow directly underneath the shoulders. You're comfortable into the forearms, okay? And the forearms are following the line of the elbow, okay? So we're not overloading into that slightly less stable shoulder girdle. Any lower back problems, any lower back discomfort, rather tuck the toes under or make a little bit more room and keep the feet wider. Sliding the block just underneath the rib cage if that feels good. Okay, so remember this posture is to release and relieve lower back pain, not to cause an excessive compression. And also it's really good to counter those hours spent in front of a computer. So finding the props that support that, so support the sense of opening into the chest, giving relief to the lower back without compromising any joint integrity. An alternate position to support the head. Play around with the block height, especially if you know you do have neck pain or neck discomfort. Rather work with the support, work with the props. Inhale to find a little bit of length in the spine, and then exhale, allow that forehead, if you're working with the block, to soften down. Become aware of that activation into the collarbones. Remembering the lung and large intestine meridian lines both access areas of the collarbones. Make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. There's no tension in the neck. Feel those shape changes in the lower abdominal cavity as you breathe into the mat. And then as you exhale, feel that belly soften and slightly lift away from the mat. Feel that extra room, that additional space that you're creating in the shoulder joint, in the neck, through the length of the spine. Remember, you always have that option of removing any of your props. We'll take 5 more deep breaths in this position. If you were working with a prop underneath the rib cage or perhaps the blanket underneath the hips, slowly removing those, gently come onto your full stomach, stacking the palms one on top of the other, resting the forehead down, and gently rock from left to right into the hips. Coming back to stillness, we're going to prepare for your open wing posture. Again, if you have a blanket and you know your shoulder joint is quite sensitive, or again, if your hip bones tend to become quite sore, you're welcome to place a blanket under either. The left arm is extending out in line with the left shoulder. From here, you're going to roll onto that left hip. Okay, so already you should feel quite a strong stretch down the inside of the left arm. My right hand has naturally come closer to the right shoulder. I've bent into my right knee, adjusting into the forehead, the side of the head. And again, consider using a prop underneath the head, underneath the foot if it's quite strong in the hip joint for you. And you have the option of bending into the left knee, tucking it back, okay, or leaving it extended, okay. I prefer to be tucked up. Feel it out for yourself. Activating down the inside of the left arm to that lung meridian line. Just checking in with any sensations from the left collarbone down along the inside of the arm to the tip of the left thumb. Our metal element supports us through periods of transition, transformation. It represents the season of autumn. So when we're preparing to slow ourselves down. So really ideal posture for late evening or before you go to bed. And keep coming back to the breath as much as possible. If any thoughts prop up into your mind, use the breath to let them go. It's quite common that you'll also be feeling quite strong sensations in the right hip. We'll be here for 5 more breaths. If you did bend into the left knee, now gently release, straighten that leg. Use the right palm to support you as you straighten into the right leg and roll back onto your full stomach. Stack into the palms, forehead resting into the hands. And again, if it feels good, give yourself that little rock from left to right. So staying as you are, I'm just going to turn around so that you can see the setup onto the right arm. So you have remained onto your stomach. The right arm this time is lengthening out in line with the right shoulder. My left arm is drawn closer to the body. I've rolled into my right hip. Good. I'm supporting into that bent left knee. And if it feels good, bend into the right knee. So for me personally, this posture is always much more challenging on the right hand side. So sometimes I need to draw that right arm a little bit closer to the body. That's absolutely fine. And remember, what might feel good on one side doesn't necessarily feel good on the other side of the body. So make room for that. Give yourself allowances. So working to a comfortable edge and not overextending in your practice. Make sure you are still relaxed in the left arm. You're not trying to push into the floor. Close the eyes if that helps you to relax. Again, checking in with those sensations from the edge of the collarbone, this time down the inside of the right arm to the tip of the left thumb. Our yin lines running on the inside of the body and the yang lines to the outside of the body. Taking 5 more deep breaths on the side. If that back leg was bent, remember we're going to come to straighten it. Straightening into the left leg, using that left arm to support, rolling, releasing, tucking the right arm in, stacking into the palms and giving the hips a little rock from side to side. Bringing the hands in line with the shoulders, gently pressing yourself up. Come back to that child's pose, just walking the arms forward, letting the shoulders release. Some of you might want to come into your downward facing dog for a moment. Pedal into the knees. Bring any adjustments that feel good, turning the chin from side to side even. And then looking to your hands as you exhale, step through and come into a seated position. Once again, you might want to work with blocks coming into your caterpillar, your seated forward fold. Tight hammies, tight lower back. Place the block underneath the knees. If that feels too strong, a blanket or a towel can be just as effective, okay? Because we really just want to give a little bit of a micro bend so that we're not locking into the joints, okay? Our yin practice is about making space in the joint capsule. Also, when you come to forward fold, remember we're coming from the hips, not from the waist. And in our yin practice, we allow for that softening, that slight little bit of rounding into the upper back. Inhale to prepare, and then exhale, walking the hands to about 60-70% of your maximum range. Relaxing in the shoulders, chin tucking back to the throat. Feeling the almost immediate release down the back of the legs into the hamstrings, maybe a little bit into the calves. Definitely the lower back if you are tight in that area naturally. Checking in that you're equally soft in the feet, there's no strong flexion, and that the shoulders are dropping away from the ears. So your caterpillar pose, similar to tadpole and child's pose, very calming, very restorative, reduces stress, anxiety, also supports the digestive system. Try to encourage a deepening into the forward fold the longer that you hold. If there's any discomfort in the neck, remember you can add the assistance of the block for the forehead and then remove it if you feel like it isn't necessary after a while. Taking 5 more deep breaths in your caterpillar posture. As you inhale, slowly slide the hands up the inside of the leg, rounding into the spine, lifting through one vertebra at a time, relaxing into the shoulders, and then encouraging the head and chin to be the last part of the body that moves. removing any props, any blocks. Making your way to the top of the mat. Just wrapping the forearms over the shins, dropping the forehead to the knees, giving yourself that nice rounding into the upper back. And then releasing that pressure, extending, lengthening the arms out, and exhale, slowly start to bring the full spine onto the mat. Take a moment to hug the knees to the chest. Like we did lying on your stomach, you can give yourself a little rock from side to side before we close with your reclined twist to the left and the right side. Placing your feet flat, we're going to work a slightly different variation. Zigzag the feet to the edge of the mat. Arms are out in line with the shoulders. And as you exhale, let both knees drop over to your left-hand side. Experiment with the position of your chin to see what feels best. And come to mentally scan those meridian lines for your lungs from the lateral edge of the collarbone down to the tip of the thumb. For the large intestine from the index finger running on the outside of the arm to the crease of the elbow, coming up, crossing over the collarbone, and remembering ending at that opposite nostril. So quite nice to trace the line from the left arm to the right nostril in this variation. Continue to deepen the breath as much as you can. Taking 5 more deep breaths with the knees to the left-hand side. Be sure to inhale, bring the chin to neutral first. Then lifting the knees back up, arms stay exactly as they are, adjust into the hip bones, and this time let the knees drop over to the right-hand side. Once again, checking in with the position of the neck. And remember, you don't need to mirror exactly what you did on the one side to the other. It's rather working with what feels best in the body. And come back to scanning that large intestine and lung meridian line on the opposite sides. Taking 5 more deep breaths for me. Inhale, remember to bring the chin to neutral. Then on the following inhalation, bringing the knees up to neutral. Adjusting, bringing the arms back on either side of the body. Hugging the knees to the chest, giving yourself a soft rock again from side to side. You're welcome to circle into the knees, massage into the lower back and kidney area. Changing direction. And then softening the feet to the floor. Adjusting onto your mat so you feel comfortable. Palms are facing upwards, close to the body but not touching. Give your neck any releases, any movements. And then come to close the eyes. Becoming aware of your full diaphragmatic breath. Encouraging that lower abdominal cavity to inflate, to expand as much as possible. So navel rising on each inhalation and the navel falling on each exhalation. See if you can extend the exhalation just a little bit longer each time. Giving the parasympathetic nervous system a chance to deepen in that relax response. So switching off adrenaline, switching off cortisol. And now come back to that full body scan. Once again, taking the awareness from the toes throughout the body to the top of the head. This time recognizing the benefits of your practice. Noticing those subtle changes, particularly in the chest, the inside and the outside of the arms, the shoulders. And with the eyes closed, you can lightly begin to touch the thumb to each finger. Bring any movements to the wrists and ankles that feel good, making sure you move in both directions. Bringing the feet together, interlacing the arms overhead, inhale, stretching away from the toes. Exhale, side out through the mouth. And then bending into your knees, rolling onto whichever side feels most comfortable. using your base arm as a pillow to support the head. Using your top arm to press yourself up, coming back into that comfortable seated position, finding length through the spine, chin tucking back to the throat, shoulders relaxed. Inhale through the nose, side out through the mouth. Again, inhale through the nose, side out through the mouth. One more. Bringing your hands to prayer. Namaste.